The sun hung low over the dusty plains of the frontier world, its orange light stretching across endless fields of red sand and jagged rocks. The air was dry, carrying the scent of dust and iron and the occasional sharp cry of alien birds that circled above. On this rugged planet, humans had begun building small settlements, carving out lives in the wild and harsh environment. Every day was a test of survival, and every person had a role to play in keeping the fragile communities alive. Ayoka, a tall and strong Apache woman, moved quietly through the settlement. Her long dark hair tied back to keep it from blowing into her face. She was unlike most people here, not just because of her strength, but because of the quiet confidence she carried. She had grown up learning the ways of her people, mastering the skills of tracking, hunting, and protecting those who could not defend themselves. Her presence alone commanded respect, yet she carried a sadness inside her that she shared with no one. She believed, deep down, that her strong body made her different in a way she could never change. People had told her over the years that she was too big to bear children, and though she had long since stopped asking why, the words still lingered in her mind like shadows. She had learned to accept her life as it was, pouring her energy into her work and the safety of the settlement. Still, there were moments when the loneliness pressed against her heart, moments when she wondered what it would be like to be truly seen for who she was. On this particular morning, Ayoka was walking along a narrow trail at the edge of the settlement, scanning the horizon for signs of trouble. The planet was full of surprises, sudden storms, aggressive wildlife, and unpredictable terrain. Her sharp eyes caught movement near a cluster of rocks, and she froze, instinct guiding her forward. From behind the rocks, a man emerged. He was tall, with sun-browned skin and a weathered face lined by experience. His clothing was a mix of traditional frontier gear and futuristic materials suited for the planet's harsh environment. Elias, the cowboy, had come with a small group of settlers who were exploring this world for a new colony. He had seen a lot in his life, but he had not expected to meet someone like Ayoka so quickly. He watched her carefully, noticing the strength in her posture, the way she moved with purpose and precision. Unlike many, he did not see her size as a limitation. He saw it as a mark of her capability, a symbol of a person who had faced life head-on and survived. Their first meeting was cautious. Ayoka studied him warily, hand resting near the knife at her belt. Elias, in turn, kept his distance but spoke in a calm, steady voice. "I'm not here to fight," he said. "I came to explore. Maybe we can help each other." Ayoka's eyes narrowed slightly. "The settlement does not need outsiders interfering. You should leave." Her voice was firm, but there was no anger, just the authority of someone who had seen too many threats to trust easily. Elias nodded. "I understand, but if trouble comes, it will not wait for permission. Perhaps we should at least walk together for safety's sake." She hesitated, then nodded slightly. They began walking along the trail, keeping a careful distance. As the hours passed, the tension between them slowly eased. They spoke little, but the silence was not uncomfortable. It was a quiet acknowledgement of shared vigilance, a mutual understanding that life on this planet required attentiveness and respect for each other's skills. Suddenly, a loud screech echoed across the plains. Alien birds, larger than any she had seen, swooped down toward the settlement. Ayoka's instincts kicked in immediately. She grabbed her spear and darted toward the path leading back to the community. Elias followed without hesitation, pulling a small energy blaster from his belt, ready to defend both himself and her. By the time they reached the settlement, chaos had erupted. The birds were attacking the livestock pens, and settlers were scrambling to protect their animals. Ayoka took command, shouting instructions and directing people to safety. She moved with precision, her strong arms lifting heavy crates to shield frightened animals, her legs carrying her swiftly across uneven ground. Elias stayed close, firing carefully at the attacking birds and assisting wherever he could. Together, they formed an effective team. Ayoka's skill in reading the terrain and predicting the birds' movements complemented Elias's quick thinking and steady aim. Slowly, the settlers managed to drive the birds away, leaving behind scattered feathers and a few frightened animals. After the attack, Ayoka leaned against a rock, breathing heavily. Elias approached, not too close, but close enough to offer comfort. "You handled that very well," he said. "Most people would have panicked." Ayoka glanced at him, her eyes wary but curious. "I have faced worse," she said quietly. There was no pride in her voice, only a simple statement of fact. Elias smiled faintly. Then maybe you can teach me a thing or two. I am new to this planet, after all. She gave a small nod, surprised by the warmth in his tone. There was something different about him, something that did not try to change her or judge her. He seemed to see her as she truly was, not as a set of limitations or expectations. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the plains in shades of orange and red, the two of them walked toward the settlement together. The silence between them was easier now, filled with a sense of mutual respect rather than suspicion. Ahioka found herself noticing small things. How Elias moved carefully to avoid tripping over rocks, how he paused to watch for danger, how his eyes seemed to take in everything without fear. Elias, on the other hand, was struck by Ahioka's quiet strength. He saw the way she handled herself, the way she protected others, the way she carried herself with dignity despite the loneliness he suspected she felt. He admired her not for her size or strength alone, but for the combination of courage, intelligence, and heart that made her uniquely human. As night fell, the settlement gathered around a central fire. Stories were shared, meals were eaten, and the bond between Ahioka and Elias grew quietly but steadily. He did not speak of her size or the past. Instead, he listened to her stories of tracking, hunting, and the challenges of life on this harsh world. She found herself talking more than she had with anyone in years, feeling seen and respected for the first time in a long while. Later, when the crowd dispersed, Ahioka and Elias remained by the fire. The flames flickered across their faces, casting long shadows. Elias reached out, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "You are stronger than most people I have ever met," he said softly. "But not just because of your body, your mind, your courage, your heart. These are what make you truly remarkable." Ahioka looked at him, her chest tightening with emotions she had long suppressed. She wanted to pull away, to remind him that her body made certain things impossible, that she could not fulfill what others might expect of a woman. But instead she stayed, listening to the sincerity in his voice. "You see me," she whispered almost to herself. "Not the stories I've been told, not the limits they placed on me. I see you," Elias said simply. "All of you." In that moment, the vast untamed plains of the frontier planet seemed a little less lonely. The wind blew gently across the settlement, carrying the scent of dust and fire, and for the first time in a long while, Ahioka felt a flicker of hope. Maybe human connection was not about meeting expectations or fulfilling roles. Maybe it was about trust, understanding, and recognizing the value of each person for who they truly were. As they walked back to their quarters under the alien stars, Ahioka realized that this was the beginning of something new. It was not about size, strength, or ability. It was about humanity, the courage to survive, the wisdom to care for others, and the heart to accept love and friendship in unexpected places. And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that she could be seen, not for what she lacked, but for everything she was. The morning light spread across the settlement, turning the red sands a pale, warm color. The air was still, with only the distant cries of alien birds and the soft hum of the wind across the plains. After the events of the storm and the bird attack, the settlers were busy rebuilding what had been damaged. Crates were rearranged, pens repaired, and the paths cleared of debris. Life on this frontier planet demanded constant work, yet it also rewarded those who faced it with courage. Ahioka moved among the settlers, her long legs carrying her easily over the uneven ground. She checked each area carefully, ensuring that no harm had come to anyone. The events of the previous day had left her exhausted, yet her mind remained sharp, always alert. She had grown accustomed to the harshness of this planet, and she knew that being prepared could mean the difference between life and death. Elias walked beside her, quietly observing her work. He had spent the morning helping repair the livestock pens, but now he followed Ahioka, offering small pieces of assistance where he could. He noticed how naturally she led the community, the way people looked to her for guidance and protection. He admired her not only for her strength but also for her patience and intelligence. "You move well with them," he said softly. "They trust you?" Ahioka glanced at him, eyes slightly narrowing but not in anger. "They have no choice," she replied lightly, though there was a hint of a smile in her voice. "If I don't lead, the settlement would struggle." Elias chuckled quietly. Perhaps. But I think they follow you because they respect you, not just because they must. She considered his words for a moment, feeling a strange warmth in her chest. No one had said something like that to her in a long time. Most people only saw her size, her strength, or the physical demands she could meet. Elias seemed to see beyond all of that, into the person she truly was. Their quiet conversation was interrupted by a distant sound, an unusual hum that rose and fell across the plains. Ahyoka stiffened, her instincts immediately alert. "That is not from this settlement," she said, her voice low but firm. "We should investigate." Elias nodded, drawing his energy blaster and falling into step beside her. Together they moved toward the source, keeping to the shadows of rocks and dunes. The hum grew louder as they approached a ridge, and soon they could see the source. A small group of alien explorers had landed in sleek, unfamiliar ships. Their machines were advanced, their intentions unclear. "They might be looking to take the planet," Ahyoka whispered. "We need to warn the others." The two of them hurried back to the settlement, speaking quickly to organize the settlers. Everyone was instructed to gather and prepare defensive measures. Makeshift barricades were reinforced, paths were cleared for quick movement, and each person was assigned a role. Ahyoka and Elias worked together seamlessly, their partnership now familiar and trusted. When the alien explorers arrived, they were surprised to find a human settlement ready to face them. Ahyoka stood at the forefront, tall and unwavering, while Elias stayed close, covering her with careful precision. The settlers, inspired by their leaders, moved confidently to defend their homes. The aliens attempted to intimidate the humans, using bright lights and mechanical sounds, but Ahyoka's strategies and Elias's quick thinking kept the settlers one step ahead. They used the natural terrain to their advantage, hiding behind rocks and using the dunes to block attacks. Ahyoka coordinated the movements, signaling with hand gestures and shouts, while Elias covered vulnerable points, his aim precise and measured. Hours passed as the standoff continued. The settlers, guided by Ahyoka and Elias, slowly forced the alien explorers back. It was a battle of wits and strategy rather than sheer force. Human ingenuity shone brightly. The ability to think creatively, act with courage, and adapt to new situations proved stronger than the alien machine's raw power. Finally, the aliens retreated, their ships lifting off the ground with a mechanical whir. The humans had won, not through strength alone, but through cooperation, intelligence, and the trust they had in each other. The settlement erupted in cheers, celebrating their survival and the leadership of Ahyoka and Elias. When the excitement had settled, Ahyoka and Elias walked through the settlement together, observing the aftermath. People were repairing what had been damaged, tending to frightened animals and offering comfort to one another. The sense of community was strong, and Ahyoka felt pride swelling in her chest. She had led these people through danger, and they had survived because of their shared determination and courage. Elias stopped beside her, leaning slightly against a rock. "You did well," he said quietly. "Not just today, but all the days I've seen you work. You inspire people without even trying." Ahyoka looked at him, feeling a rush of emotions she had long kept hidden. She wanted to speak of her doubts, of the insecurities that had shadowed her life for so long, but instead she simply nodded. "I only do what must be done," she replied softly. He shook his head, smiling gently. "No, you do more than what must be done. You give people hope. You remind them why being human is something special, our ability to care, to protect, to think, and to connect." Her gaze fell to the ground for a moment. Then she looked back at him. "And you see me for who I am, not for what I cannot do," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I do," Elias said simply. "You are more than your body, more than expectations. You are everything you need to be, just as you are." The weight of his words settled over her, a gentle warmth that she had not felt in years. She realized slowly that the limitations she had believed defined her were only the stories she had accepted. Her value, her humanity, was not measured by physical capability or societal expectations. It was measured by courage, wisdom, and heart, the qualities that had guided her through every danger she had faced. As night fell, the settlement gathered around the central fire once more. People shared stories, food, and laughter, and Ahyoka found herself standing close to Elias, feeling the comfort of his steady presence. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future where she was truly seen, truly valued. and truly connected. They spoke quietly as the flames flickered, sharing thoughts of survival, hope, and the strange beauty of the planet they now called home. There was no need for grand gestures or declarations. Their bond was built on trust, respect, and the quiet understanding that they would face challenges together. Later, when the settlement grew silent and people retreated to their quarters, Ahyoka and Elias remained near the fire. She watched the stars shimmer across the alien sky, feeling a sense of peace she had not known before. Elias placed his hand on hers, not demanding, not expecting, simply offering comfort. "You are remarkable," he said softly, "and I am honored to stand with you." Ahyoka felt tears prick her eyes, though she did not let them fall. For years she had measured herself by what she could not do. Now, she realized that she had always possessed what truly mattered: strength of spirit, wisdom, courage, and the ability to connect with another human heart. "You see me," she whispered. "You see all of me. I see all of you," he replied, with a quiet certainty that made her heart swell. The two of them sat together under the stars, watching the alien night stretch endlessly above. They did not speak for a long time, letting the silence speak for them. In that quiet, unspoken moment, Ahyoka understood something fundamental. Human connection was not about perfection, ability, or expectation. It was about trust, courage, empathy, and love, the qualities that made humans truly special. For the first time in her life, she allowed herself to believe that she was enough, exactly as she was. And in the presence of Elias, she felt the warmth of being seen, respected, and valued for everything that made her human. As the fire dwindled to embers, the two of them rose and walked toward the settlement together. The night was calm, the stars bright, and the frontier world seemed less lonely than it had before. They had survived storms, alien threats, and their own doubts. And now together they were ready to face whatever the future might bring. The plains stretched before them, vast and full of unknown dangers. Yet with courage, trust, and the bonds they had forged, Ahyoka and Elias knew that they could meet anything. On this distant planet, amid alien skies and harsh landscapes, the human spirit had proven itself once again, resilient, brave, and unbreakable, and for Ahyoka, that realization was the most extraordinary victory of all.